Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Vanissia. This is the Woolly Worker Knitting Podcast and today I am joining you for episode 21 of the Woolly Worker Knitting Podcast. Today is a very special episode because I will be making a big announcement at the end of the video about what I'm going to do to celebrate my 1-year podcast anniversary, and there will also be another announcement. There will be 3 finished objects, one of which I am wearing. I hope that you can notice. And there will also be 4 works in progress, 2 of which are barely just started. But yeah, last episode I felt like I didn't make a lot of progress because I was working on a lot of different things at once and then they were all getting some work done. So it was kind of boring and repetitive. But then this week I've not really been working on those projects, so I will not be showing a lot of things that I have shown in past videos. There's quite a lot of new things on the needles, that's exciting. One of which is my Christmas jumper, so I really am looking forward to showing and talking about that because it's quite a lot going on. But yeah, so that's what you can expect from today's video. As always, there will be chapters and timestamps in the description down below. There will be links to anything that I mentioned, like my Ravelry project pages, pattern names, color names, all that good stuff, any people or things or places that I mention. And if you want to follow me on other social media, you can find me on Instagram, on Ravelry, and on Ko-Fi at thewoollyworker. Here you can support me with just the price of a cup of coffee if you wanted, or if you wanted to buy me a pattern, I also have my Ravelry wish list linked below. And a few of the projects today are actually were kindly brought to me by gifters on Ravelry, so that's really nice and a fun little feature of what we can do on Ravelry. So I'll go with the first announcement first. I'm really excited to be launching my Discord server. I have been wanting to make one for ages. I've been building this one for about a month now. It's quite a lot of work and there's a lot of infrastructure and like different channels to make, just because I really wanted it to be organized, user-friendly. I really wanted to foster the community aspect of this because I know that the YouTube comments aren't the perfect way to exchange things with each other. And then I have my Ravelry group. I feel like it's kind of hard to generate engagement and again, like a real back and forth. It feels more like a forum, whereas Discord feels much more like a communication and like social media. You can share photos way much more easily, you can do polls, you can voice chat, video chat. If you haven't used Discord before, it's really easy and simple to use. There's an app, but you can also use it on your browser. You just need to make an account, technically, but you just have to like put your username and your email address and then like you're ready to go. It's not like you need to create a whole profile or anything like that. And then you can join Discord groups. So I'll put the invite link below and feel free to share that with any knitty friends that you have. It's not a secret or anything. It's really open to anybody. I created a space where we can talk about knitting. I've also made a separate space for anything that's like off topic or just general. Other hobbies, you can indicate if you crochet or you sew or you spin. I've also let you indicate whether you're a podcaster. There's a social media like self-promotion channel where people can talk about what they have on the internet. A place for finished items, for works in progress. I've really tried to make this as varied as possible but not overwhelming, so that I really just want people to have this space where they can meet like-minded people. I could chat obviously there with you more regularly rather than Instagram. I really want to be able to organize my mini cals, my mini knit-alongs in the space. There will be dedicated channels. Every time that I do a knit-along, we can all participate there. I think that'll be really handy. And then there's also going to be a separate channel for Ko-Fi supporters that is invisible to people who are not. And then if you join me on Ko-Fi, then you will get added to that channel automatically. So that's still something that's in progress, but I'll be launching probably in a couple of weeks the Ko-Fi tiers. I just really love how Discord works and how open it is to customization and really making it your own, and it's just really easy to use. So if you don't use it, if you've never used it before, I highly encourage you to give it a go, give it a chance. And if you don't like it, just delete the app afterwards. It's okay, no hard feelings, but I think this could really become something. So yeah, I highly recommend you joining. I'm so excited, I can't wait. It's going to be really fun and I hope that you guys like it. I think it'll be a really great place for us to all chat with each other, super relaxed and friendly, and also a really good place for organization and for me to host more knit-alongs knit nights and things like that. It's just going to be a great place to have everybody in the one place. So yeah, I really hope that you join it, and let me know if you have any feedback or comments on that. And at the end of the video, I will reveal the second big announcement, and I'll just give you a little teaser of what it is. But basically, to celebrate my 1-year podcast anniversary here on YouTube, I will be hosting on that date, on the 2nd of January 2024, a 12-hour knitting marathon live stream on YouTube, and I will try and fundraise and donate all the proceeds to a charity of my choice, which is the Samaritans in the UK. But more on that later, so if you can't wait, just skip ahead to that section. There will be a timestamp, but let's just get into the knitting content. Like I said, there's not going to be that much, so hopefully that will leave me enough time to speak about the live stream at the end of the video. But I'm really excited about the projects that I've got here, especially the Christmas jumper. But first things first, what I am wearing. So this is my Syrah sweater by Tricot Design MCL. It's a fingering weight jumper that I made with Kinross 4-ply from Wee County Yarn. Everybody knows about that yarn now. I think Rebecca from the Caribbean and I have talked about it like a lot, and I know that I think this is the single yarn that most people have messaged me to say that I influenced them to buy, and honestly, if that's my legacy, I'm very proud. I stand by it. So the Syrah sweater is a fingering weight sweater. I made it on 3.5mm instead of 4. I think she recommends 4, but I thought that that was too big a gauge. I was actually quite happy to be doing the ribbing on my wooden needles, just because I thought it would make my ribbing neater, and it did. I did an Italian bind off on the sleeves, so I did the 2 set up rounds and then I did the bind off, which I thought worked really well as well. I really like blocking my ribbing with the combs instead of the pins, and I really like to get straight edges on the rib, because otherwise when I just finish my ribbing it really flares out. Like honestly, I'm not proud of what my knitting looks like before block, but after block everything falls into place much better and I'm actually proud of it. I also did the trick where I did a little crochet slip stitch edge on the neck before picking up for the neck, and it's really subtle, so I don't think that you can see too much, but basically it just leaves a really nice crisp edge line, and I thought it elevated that sweater. I also didn't find any rowing out on the flat portion of this drop shoulder compared to the in the round. There's also 0 color variation in this dye. Like, it's not like it's hand dyed or anything, but it did bleed during the hand wash, but it didn't stain any towels on the other hand. So I think this reds and blues are very powerful colors, if I understand correctly, so nothing to be too shocked about, and I wasn't washing anything else with it. The other features of this jumper are the puff sleeve. I don't know if you can see with my background here, but you get a little puff here, and then the puff actually descends all the way into this beautiful pleat, which I will be hopefully showing photos of once I get them. And you get the same on the other side, and then hopefully, yes, you can see they are symmetrical, which actually was a lot of work because let me get into this. So you pick up for the sleeves the same that you would normally do for a drop shoulder. I will say that the pattern doesn't tell you a pickup rate, a suggested one, so you just have to make up your own. I think I picked up 2 out of 3, and usually what I do is I just kind of fudge numbers where I do 2 out of 3, and then if I don't have the suggested amount, then maybe I have like 4 extra. I'll decrease a bit more, or I'll just accept that my sleeve will have 4 extra stitches. For fingering weight, it wouldn't make that much of a difference. If it was DK, I probably wouldn't stray away from like further from having 2 less or 2 extra. Just because I don't want to stay away too far from the pattern. But anyway, so usually I just fudge things around. And also something that I pretty much never pay attention to is picking up an even number of stitches on the front and on the back. What I really care about is the total amount of stitches. And usually that has worked great for me, no problems whatsoever. But in this pattern, my hubris caught up with me, and I failed because I did the first sleeve, did the pleat, everything was fine. I think I was feeling like the pleats, maybe the puff wasn't exactly falling right into the pleat, but I thought that's fine, as long as both sleeves are symmetrical, I will be a happy bunny. But then when I made the second sleeve and I made the pleat, I realized that the pleat was just basically way too far back, like behind the shoulder, and I thought that didn't seem normal, and I don't know why I didn't stop myself. I just kept on making the ribbing And then after the ribbing and binding off and putting the sleeves side by side, I have some really bad quality photos I'll probably put there, but you can probably see that it just didn't look right. And it was enough to bother me, because apart from that, I loved the sweater like so much. So I knew it was going to bother me, and I really wanted this to be perfect. And even though I have a bit of an aversion to frogging, I thought that it would be too silly to not be fully happy, especially if I could fix this. So even though I had bound it off, I unpicked my Italian bind off and undid all of the ribbing and picked it back up to just where the pleat had happened. I actually had messaged the designer, and I had said, I sent her the really bad quality video, and I said, oh hi, I love your pattern, I really want this to look great. What did I do wrong? Are you able to tell from this video? And thankfully she could, and I was so impressed by the fact that she was able to diagnose from all the way to Canada exactly knowing where I got it wrong. And she told me that's because I didn't pick up the same amount of stitches at the front and at the back. As simple as that. And so by definition, because of the way that she had made her numbers up for the pleat, it just wouldn't be centered, basically. It would be off-centered and twisted, and even like the stitches of the sleeve, they weren't falling straight, like parallel to the floor. The stitches were slanted, you know, they were twisting. And I could have noticed that ages ago, but I just didn't. So obviously what I could have done was that I could have undone the whole sleeve and re-picked it up according to the right, like half and half. But I really didn't have the heart to unpick an entire fingering weight sleeve, especially because I was done technically. I had bound off. Then what I did instead was that I undid the pleat, which is basically like you kind of manually with cable needles like fold it. So I undid that, and then I eyeballed, which a very scary word for me. I hate that. I hate approximations. I really like to know that what I'm doing is mathematically the right thing to do. But I kind of eyeballed that my pleat was kind of like, let's say 2 inches off centered. So I overcorrected and then moved my beginning of round 2 inches the other way. So I know that this isn't the best way of me explaining what I did to fix it, but basically just don't get caught out, don't make my mistake, pick up the right amount of stitches before and after. If I was a designer, I probably would have put a note where I would have said, in this pattern, it is actually very important that you pick up the right amount of stitches, and also here's the pickup rate. That's my only note. Apart from that, the pattern was perfect, tip-top. But it was a fix, and it did work, and I was very nervous. I was like, I'm not redoing it a third time. Then the moment of truth happens. I put the arms like that, and yes, I'm very happy. It does work. It is symmetrical, and that's it. So that was my only issue, but apart from that, the fit is amazing. So hopefully you'll be able to tell. I feel really good in this jumper. I feel like it's such a good amount of ease where it's like not skin tight, not oversized. I think it hugs my shoulder frame nicely. Like the neck is really nice and elegant, where it's like a little bit like more revealing than other necklines, but not like the boat necks that you see. It's not too chunky, like it's very feminine and subtle. The pleats are obviously amazing. The puff shoulder, I was afraid at first I wouldn't like it. I feel like a puff shoulder looks better when it's like on your shoulder, but I kind of like it like that as well. Like it's like a surprising detail that I do like. So I'm really happy that I did it. I think this sweater pattern will easily make my top 10 list of fingering weight patterns that I would do again and would be a staple. So if you remove the puff, you remove the pleat, then you just have an amazing fingering weight drop shoulder, and you can do any sort of other modifications to it. I think I cropped mine actually, not sure how much, it'll be on my Ravelry project page, but I cropped it a little bit, and then that ended up turning really well for me because I may have run out of yarn otherwise, I think. I can't remember, it's been a while. But yeah, the yarn is absolutely amazing. I don't really need to say more about Kinross 4-ply that I haven't already. It's heavenly soft, it's so plush, like it was a pleasure to knit with. I really enjoy having that dry texture, but then when you dunk it in water, it just plumps up, fills up, no gaps, and it's just really cushiony and so even, and I really like my tension with this gauge and the yarn and the fabric. I'm really happy with it, because sometimes I feel like my tension with Drops Air, for example, I am not a big fan at all, but the tension with Kinross 4-ply, I feel very proud of my work as a knitter. So this jumper is very comfortable. I can see myself wearing it all the time in, I guess, the end of autumn here, and then winter, and then spring. You guys have been loving the color. The lighting is not great here, but I guess this is pretty true. It's been showing quite overblown and bright on some of the photos I've taken, but it is quite dark in real life like this. So yeah, it's kind of the only thing that's burgundy in my knitted wardrobe at the moment, and I really, really like it. So I'm on the lookout for more fingering weight jumpers, because every time I make one, I'm amazed at how much I love the drape, the lightness of it. It feels like nothing. I like working with Kinross Reply. I love most of their colors, so I wouldn't be opposed to going back and getting a black sweater quantity, a navy sweater quantity, just maybe more of a statement color in the future. Like, I really just want to keep making fingering weight sweaters in Kinross Reply, and that one didn't even take that long. So if you're wanting to make your first fingering weight sweater, highly, highly recommend this jumper. Just be careful of the sleeve pickup, and if you want to skip that, you can skip it too. So I think that's it. The total cost for this project then was, I think it was above 5 skeins, under 6, so it was £35.64. I think I got the yarn on sale possibly some time ago, probably way earlier this year, and I think it's an affordable jumper for something that feels like cashmere. Like £35 is just really good. As far as my sweaters go, again, like, it's not my most expensive one, and yet I can see this becoming one of my favorites and one of my most worn because it is so comfortable. The only thing I will say is that it does pick up a lot of fluff. It was picking up a lot of fluff when it wasn't blocked, and I was kind of hoping that blocking it would make it lose its tendency to just be really catchy, but it didn't really, and even after block, it picks up things. And even like if I fold my arm like that, if I crease it, it kind of shows the creases, like the crease lines, so probably will need to block this a few, or wash it a few more times to get it to reset every time, but that's fine. Yeah, I think that's it for the syrah sweater. Really looking forward to making more patterns from this designer. I've bought a couple in her latest birthday sale, so yeah, a couple of cardigans from her I want to make, because I really want to make more cardigans. I've been saying that every episode, and I liked her way of writing patterns, and she had a tutorial video for the pleats, so yeah, I think that's it for this. Okay, I turned on my ring light, because even though it's literally 2 p.m, it's dark already, so forgive me for that. I thought we would have more time. But yeah, the next item is some penny gloves. So I don't know if I talked about that last time. I think I wanted to talk about it, but I basically have this skein of hand-dyed yarn from Zekami. It's their Corriedale base, which they advertise as being suitable for socks because it's very tightly twisted and spun, and ideally it's like a replacement for the nylon sock yarn, and it would be sturdy. But I didn't want to use it for socks. I really wanted to use the hand-dyed for something that I would maybe wear more and see more. So the colorway is Healing Symphony, and it is this really, really pretty red, like coral red almost. Like it's quite pinkish, definitely on the cooler side as opposed to warm, and I really, really, really like it. And I wanted to be able to make a pair of accessories, so I wanted to make a set. So I've been obsessed with the idea of having a matching set of accessories. Ideally, I would have some neckwear as well, but obviously that's impossible from just one skein of yarn, and I didn't want to spend money on 2 skeins. So anyway, I thought I'd make the gloves first and then make a hat second. So I'll talk about that as well just in a second. But the first thing here are the penny gloves. So here they are, and I don't know how the camera is going to react to this color. It's just insane how bright it is. The other day it was in front of my laptop, just like at night before bed, and the yarn seemed to be glowing like from itself. It's impressive. So I've made up my own sort of hack of the penny glove pattern because the original is in sport/DK way. I know some people have been making it with mohair held with something else. I went the other direction where I made it in fingering way, and I much prefer the very dense fabric and light that this gives me. So yeah, this is my 3rd pair of fingering weight penny gloves, and I'll show photos, but I'll also just try them on right now. So I usually like them to be very skin tight, and my first iteration was so tight, and I liked it, but it couldn't have been tighter. Then my second iteration I made 2 stitches bigger, and then for this iteration I used the same stitch count as my second iteration, But then halfway through I was like, I think this is a bit bigger. I think maybe because I'm using a different yarn. I would have maybe wanted it to be just like 2 stitches tighter basically, but I had done half of a glove and I really wasn't in the mood to rip. So I gave it a mid-project block to see what would happen. Would it get even bigger or would it be something that I could live with? And then to my surprise, it actually blocked and retracted. So then it became like, yeah, I don't know if you can see, but yeah, basically it's perfect. It fits me like a glove, and I made it a bit longer on the hand this time. My previous iteration was smaller, same as the thumb. I added one more round of the thumb. I also did a different thing this time, where instead of doing make one left and make one right on the thumb gusset increase, I did lifted increases just to see if I liked it, and the verdict is that I don't. I think it makes them less invisible, a bit more bumpy. It did even out a huge amount after blocking, but I still think that the make one left and make one right gives a much neater increase line for the thumb, so I'm not going to do that again. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you the thumb increase right now on camera. The angle doesn't work that way, but I'll show you a photo. But I really, really like these. The other thing that happened is that while I was making the second one, I was knitting in front of the television. Like, I hadn't brought the first glove, I was just knitting on the second one. And I thought I knew how many rounds I had done on the first one. I was like certain it was a certain amount. Then I did all the thumb gusset increases. Then the movie was finished, and then I realized I had forgotten 5 rounds for the wrist. And again, it was like, do I rip back? Do I stretch it to the max? Some people suggested that I undo the cast on and knit from top to bottom, but I really didn't want it to be any sort of line or edge or visible point that would draw the attention. So I just ripped, because in the grand scheme of things, it was just a couple of hours of work, like nothing to be devastated about. So yeah, basically I ripped out an entire rib sleeve. I ripped out an entire thumb increase. I've been ripping out a lot, which usually I don't do. Just silly mistakes. But yeah, this yarn blocked out amazingly with the wash, is what I want to say. Like, night and day. I'll show some photos. The texture is insane. This is like, it's nice and soft and plump and round, and I do like the yarn. I'm not sure if it would be next to skin soft for a jumper, which I'm a bit worried about, because I have a t-shirt quantity of this yarn, also from Zakami, that I was going to make a very negative ease fitted t-shirt. I'm rethinking this now, where I think maybe I'll make an oversized jumper instead of a very tight one, because right now I can feel a bit of prickliness around the wrists, but I know that they'll be very nice and warm when I'm outside, because I've got some Kinross 4-ply penny gloves that I wear inside when it's really too cold. I love those. But these will be my outside penny gloves, and then I'll be able to be seen from outer space. But yeah, so that was just a really quick project. Could have been even faster if I had not made silly mistakes, and it, again, still will not be the last pair of penny gloves that I make. And then I'll just quickly give an update then on the matching whip that's going with this finished item, and it's a muscle bra hat by Isolde Teague. I've already made one in hand-dyed yarn from Nervous Fiber. Absolutely love it. Worn it recently on date night, and it kept me so nice and toasty. I love the folded brim that gives you 4 layers of knitted fabric. I made mine on 3.25mm last time, and I was thinking that for my next iteration I'd want to go down, but then I didn't really want to work with 3mm needles, because like the ones I have from my Chayogu set I had to buy separately because they don't come with a 3mm. And then I bought the wrong size, where they're 3mm, but they're really long tips. So I basically couldn't work in a small circle for the hat with those 3mm tips, long story short. So I decided to work on 325, but with wooden needles, because they will be more grip, and so it'll be less loose, and so hopefully it'll be tighter. So that's my thinking. So the muscle bra hat, you work it by making a little bit of increases, and then when you have enough fabric, you measure your gauge, and then that's what tells you where, like, how else to follow the pattern. Like, there's basically instructions for every gauge. So because I knew that the gauge may have changed so much with those, I made a big circle, and then I blocked it, and then I measured the gauge before and after, so that I wouldn't be surprised, basically. So here's my little gauge swatch, basically, or beginning of muscle bra hat. So actually, I haven't even measured it after blocking, it's dry now. But before blocking, I was at 7 stitches per inch. And now after block, let me just measure that. I'm at 6.5. So the pattern actually does tell you different numbers for 6.5 and for 7. So I'm happy that I blocked it. Then that actually does change how many increases I was going to do. So I will then do the exact same instructions as my last hat because I was also having that same gauge. And it's a good sign because the amount of yarn I have left from the penny gloves should be literally just enough to make that hat. I may have to remove a couple centimeters maybe, or like 1 centimeter, but the pattern also tells you instructions on how to make the most use of your yarn by telling you when to weight it. But basically you weight it after you're done with your increases, and then you save that amount of yarn for making the decreases on the other side. The penny gloves, by the way, they ended up costing £6 and 9p, which is really great. Like, hand-dyed yarn, £6 for a pair of gloves. That's really, really cool. Then the hat is like the real yarn guzzler because that one is going to take up the entire rest of the skein, and the skein was pretty much like, let's say, £20. So the hat will probably be 14, and then 6 for the gloves, and £20 for a set of matching accessory. I think is an excellent use of a skein of hand-dyed special yarn. So if you're wanting to make use of something that's in your stash, just be careful with the weighting of the yarn. Maybe do the gloves first because that's the one you don't want to run out of yarn for, I think. Maybe make this wrist area a bit smaller if you're scared, and then just use the rest for a muscle bra hat. I highly recommend that combination. So I think that's it for the penny gloves and for my little muscle bra work in progress. Hopefully I'll have more progress to show next time. I'm looking forward to just getting into the stockinette tube section where I can just knit in front of the TV or when I'm out and about, which is less and less these days because it's absolutely freezing outside. But I'm really looking forward to having a red hat. If you have any suggestions for matching sets of accessories, please let me know. I'm really... What happened with the light? I'm really wanting to get... like, ideally I would have headwear, mittens, and then a cowl. Not a scarf. I don't think I want to knit a scarf, but I really want cowls. I think the next thing that maybe I'll want to do is like another Mary Wallen cowl, and then maybe some like Mary Wallen mitts. Just like lots of Fair Isle, lots of color work. I've got lots of scraps, so I probably won't have to go too out of my way to buy them. And then like a matching Fair Isle hat, because everything will look matching basically, because Fair Isle is just so almost random looking, and even though you can have 21 colors, like they all look kind of the same shade. So yeah, I'll probably be looking for a Mary Wallen set that I'll make myself. But if you have any other suggestions, I think I want to do the Olé mittens and the Olé hat by Susan Miller, and I want to hear what you guys have as ideas for sets. Let me know. Then the last finished item is a neckwear thing. It's called the Autumn Tales Cowl by Ozetta, and here it is. So yeah, we'll talk about this later, but yeah, here's the cowl. So it's like just like a dicky type thing where there's no join between the front and the back. It's just like something that you put on under your coat. It's got a nice squishy turtleneck. It's all in garter, and then there's this really, really lovely braided detail that you can see where there's like video support, and it's all along the edges and at the back and at the corner. It's really cute, and it was really fun to do and really fast. So I made this in Drops Air. I had it in my stash. I used less than 3 balls, which was really great because the pattern originally said I might have needed more, and I almost bought a 4th ball, but in the end I didn't need it. This was a test knit for Rosetta, and the deadline was over 2 weeks, so it wasn't too much of a rush, and because it was garter flat, that was really fast. But I think the thing that was slow was the turtleneck, which was quite boring. And then the other thing was that the pattern tells you to do to a certain length or to a certain amount of rounds, but you also have to be wary of your gauge, and I knew that my garter gauge was going to change significantly because I made the Sophie scarf in the exact same needles, and I remember and the same yarn, and I remember measuring my Sophie scarf before and after block, and it went from being 200 centimeters to 235, which basically was like an I think oh, I want to say an 85, like a 15% increase basically. So what I did with this Ozetta thing is that every time she would tell me, you know, knit for 10 centimeters, I would knit for 8.5 because I knew that with a block I could get it to 10, and I really didn't want this thing to become massive uncontrollably so. So I was feeling pretty proud of myself for kind of accounting for the gauge and preemptively making things shorter so that it would be what I wanted in the end. I feel like sometimes you don't really get that in patterns, do you? Like, it's really rare that the pattern actually tells you and writes in the pattern, remember that this will grow after blocking, so account for that and make your sleeves shorter by maybe 2 centimeters. I really appreciate when they say that. So originally I had made the little braid detail here with just 2 strands of drops air, but then, because I was playing Yarn Chicken, but then I realized that I could go back and actually hold 4 strands of drops air to make this detail, and I'm happy with that. It was just like squishier and plumper. The only thing I'm not happy with is that the ends are on the wrong side. So here are my ends of the crochet braid here. And because the front is slanted, it shows the back. So obviously when I'm wearing this doesn't matter because this is like on my back. But when I'm holding this like that, it really bothers me. And I probably could have done a better job at weaving them in. I am aware of that. But I don't know. I probably will go back and fix it because like this is just sloppy and lazy. I'll try and maybe hide them in the braid as much as I can so that it just is better for photos. But yeah, it's a nice little accessory and it's my first dickie. I do realize that I don't love turtlenecks, like I don't suit them that much. The original had mohair suggested to be held with that, but I didn't want mohair on my neck. And I'm glad I didn't because even the drops air, I'm finding it a bit like, not choking per se, but just I'm aware that there's something on my neck. And the last thing I wanted to mention with this is that I did my trick once again of using a crochet hook to make a line of slip stitches along the neck before picking up, and I really wanted to do that for this one because I was aware that the difference between the garter horizontal lines and then the stock, like the ribbing vertical, was going to bother me if it was sloppy. So hopefully you can see that I've tried my best to make this as neat as possible and kind of give a framework from where to pick up the stitches. And yeah, it's not the best. I think Drops Air just isn't my favorite yarn in terms of the neatness of the stitches. Garter is a little unforgiving as well. And then this yarn being white, it picks up a bit of fluff from a lot of things as well. So not the super happiest with this project, but I think it'll be a welcome accessory. I don't have anything like that yet in my wardrobe, so I think that it can't hurt to have it. And it was also very cost effective. It only cost me £6.93. It was yarn I had in stash. It was quite fun. Test knitting for Ozetta. Oh, I'm really blown out now. So yeah, the original pattern was made in unspun yarn, and I think if you had any stash of that, it would be really, really fun, and maybe the garter would look different, but I thought that Drops Air was quite a good substitution to get that fuzzy effect. But yeah, maybe the mohair would have added a bit more structure and made it less uneven? Who knows? But yeah, I think that's it for that finished object, and therefore all my finished objects. The next item is my Traveler's cardigan that I'm knitting in a mini knit along with Marlene from Marlene Knits. We had our call last week. She has caught up with me. She was really, really fast and has made the entire body, and so we were both knitting on our sleeves during the call. So I was pretty much done with the entire body and the button band and the buttons and everything last time. So the only difference this time is that I've made an entire sleeve. And it's a really cute little balloon sleeve, so you know, 0 decreases, you just knit straight the entire time, do some rapid decreases at the cuff, and then do some ribbing. I, once again, bound off in pattern as opposed to tubular bind off because I'm really not made to do tubular bind off with unspun yarn. I'm doing this with Manchulopi from Wool Dreamers in the color green. There's not that many colors, so you probably know which one it is. I made sure to count how many rounds I did so I could do the exact same on the other sleeve. I found it that when there's no decreases to keep track of, it's easy to just get carried away, And then I really want my two sleeves to match and be as symmetrical as possible, and I don't like to eyeball it, I like to actually be sure. But yeah, I think I made the sleeve a tad longer than what Rosetta called for, just because I didn't want this to be at an annoying length where it would be like a bit too small on the wrist. And I did the entire thing on my short circulars, and I think I did the magic loop for the rib, because you have to reduce drastically the amount of stitches before the cinching. So yeah, then I picked up for the second sleeve, and I'm just about to start my third cake of Mencholopi. So the yarn has really carried me through a lot of this project, and I'll not use much for this sleeve. So maybe with the rest of that, I could make a really plump hat. I think the Grow hat is really good by Fabric Tales for unspun yarn. Or I could make some big chunky mittens, although I'm not sure if I want to do small circumference things for unspun, just because I just can't be bothered with it being fiddly. But I don't know if you have other suggestions for not that much unspun. I do really like it. I think the jacket is really I'm calling it a jacket because I feel like it's very outerwear type of yarn. It's going to be very comfortable. And like I said before, I have really high hopes for this to relax a lot with blocking, and for the shoulder to drop more, and for the button band and neck to relax. Like I really just want this to expand and relax. And you guys have been telling me, every time I've shown this on the podcast, you have told me, don't worry, that will happen. I've worked with this yarn before and it does relax a lot. So you guys are keeping me reassured that good things are going to happen to this once I dunk it in water. So that's nice. I probably will just finish this like next week, because everything is done. Like there's no finishing touches to do. I've weaved in all the ends already, and I'm super excited to have done a cardigan. I didn't do that many this year, even though I said I was going to try to. I think I made 2 or 3, so that's good. But yeah, I'll be then casting on another cardigan immediately after that, and I can't wait to tell you what it is. I'll probably talk about that in my next video, hopefully. Maybe having swatched for it, that would be really cool as a reward for this, is swatching for the next one. So yeah, I'm really excited to finish that and to wear it. I'm not sure what I'm gonna wear this with, because the color is very spring-like. And maybe wintry, and the fabric is definitely plush and squishy and warm and dense and windproof, but I cropped it a little bit by removing rounds between buttonholes. It's not something that you can spontaneously crop because of the integrated button band. You have to calculate how much you want to crop it, which was annoying to do, but I did it. I talk about it in my previous episode. And then I think I cropped it so much that this would look adorable on top of dresses, but I'm not going to be wearing dresses in winter, and if I do, they won't be spring colored dresses, so I'll just have to find what to wear this with. But it's going to be very warm, and I think it'll be perfect for like going down to the shops to get a scone or a coffee or a hot chocolate, and it'll be really good. Okay, so we got one more whip and then sort of a swatch / whip, just really bare bones. So the next thing is the Holly Sweater by Knitting for Olive, and a very kind viewer gifted me the pattern some time ago, and it really motivated me to pick that one as my Christmas jumper. I had a few that were runner-ups in the list, but that one was motivating. And then I got some yarn that I was desperate to find. I got this in an like Irish shop, and I had to pay a lot for shipping, but a friend got the same yarn, and so we split the cost. This is Camarose Manistral in like the 9002 color, and it sparkles. I think I already showed that before, but it's really cute. Then I have 2 Woolinet cones that were gifted to me by Woolinet when we did our collaboration before. So this is the Blanca, and then this is the Mostaza Green. And then I've got some Knitting for Olive Merino in Claret that my boyfriend gifted me some time ago, like for our anniversary a year ago, and for a sweater that I've not made yet, and so I'm borrowing it from that stash, and hopefully that won't affect the sweater quantity that this was. But I was asking you guys what colors to pick, the red and the green. I had a few from stash that I wasn't sure what to use, and you helped me pick this combination, so thank you very much. I'm happy I didn't go for something that was like as bright as this. I like the muted, I like the dark. And I didn't want to hold mohair, so basically my contrast colors is that held double. and then the background color is the fluffy and the merino. So are you ready for the circular yoke? It's on my desk with 6 balls of yarn like dangling, but yeah, I will show you. And I will probably show you some b-roll of the floats and everything, just because I cannot deal with this on camera. Ta-da! So I'll show you here, kind of unfolded. I am so happy with this. It's been so much fun. Like, it has been really challenging for a few different reasons, but also I've been enjoying every second of it because it's challenging but not impossible. And even though the rows that have those 3 colors attached to it take forever, you just know that there's only like 10 of them, and then like you just know what to expect. Like, you know what you're in for. You just like you're sitting at your desk and you're like, okay, for the next half hour I will be making this little repeat. And the repeat is not even that long. It's just that the bubbles and the color changing takes a long time, but it's easy enough to remember the repeat over all the hollies. So I made all these little bubbles. As you can see, they're very 3D looking. What I think I'm gonna go do at the end is go back and tug on all the red on the backside and really tighten the bubbles, because I think a lot of them are a bit like there's too much slack going into them, and I want to make sure that they're as neat as they can be. I'm using the crochet hook technique for them, so I'm doing this on 3.75mm. I went down a needle size, and I'm doing the size small, not extra small. And yeah, doing the crochet hook for the bubbles. By the way, we're doing this as a mini knit along. I said on my Instagram that I was going to cast this on, and if anybody else wanted to make it before Christmas, they were welcome to join. And that has been super fun because we all have different tips and techniques for the color changing. Someone is doing that as their first color work project, which is mental. But if there's still time, if you're wanting to join the group chat on Instagram, just message me there and I'll add you, and hopefully we can all have matching Christmas jumpers. But yeah, I really like the color combination. I think this is so good. Like, I can't stop staring. I can't wait to have the entire circular yoke finished so that you get that very aesthetic shot of the whole circle. But the very exciting thing about this sweater, apart from the bubbles, and the other reason why this is a bit harder than usual, is that I'm trying a new technique to manage floats, which is called ladderback jacquard. And this is kind of a float catching technique where instead of catching your floats between your strands of yarn by twisting them, you're actually making a invisible stitch on the reverse side of your work that will just exist alongside the back of your work, and it will never show on the right side. The only times where it might is when you're creating that stitch and anchoring it in, and I used a lifted increase to do that. And then the other point is when you're having to attach it back to end that ladderback jacquard, and you're having to do a knit 2 together. But apart from those 2 points where the yarn basically joins the back and the front, apart from that, it really exists separately, like the mesh at the back of your work. You could put like your fingers underneath and everything. So there's no way that it can show through because it literally doesn't interact at all with the front strands. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but basically I'm going to show you a close-up of my color work, and you can tell me if you see any red or green or white where you shouldn't be able to see it. And you can be honest with me. Because you have those bubbles that are red, but you're having to carry the red all the way across, not just for the bubbles. And I feel like if you were just catching your floats, it would be really hard to keep on having to catch not only the red every time, but also sometimes there's long strands of white and long strands of green. So you're playing 3 color work and having to catch 2 of them a lot. It really isn't a pattern I would recommend for first-time color workers. But as someone who's a bit experienced and wanted to try something new, I'm really pleased and impressed with the color, with the ladderback jacquard. And actually working on this, which is like sort of complex-ish color work, made me really crave simple color work. And I don't know why I haven't done color work in so long. I think the last thing I did was my Mariwalin. It was a huge like cowl that had like 11 different colors and lots of ends. And I think it put me off was the ends, and then this is putting me off because of like the float catching. But I'm really craving now some simple color work, and I think the next thing I'm going to do in winter is going to be the Levi pullover by Sarah Nordland, which I don't think ever has 3 colors at once, and it's just a normal circular yoke. And I had already done a circular yoke from her for color work, and I like the way it fit me because usually I'm quite picky with circular yokes. So that's going to be in the future. This is the holly first. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to blocking this because I know that the woolly knit merino, whilst thin right now, will plump up and even out the color work even more. And I'm so chuffed with my bubbles. It's my first time doing them. So chuffed with the ladder back. It's beautiful, and I'll take more pictures, and I'm pretty much almost done with the 3 color work, and then there's just some easy green and white. And then that's it for all the excitement, and then everything else that comes after that will just be the rest of the white yoke, then the body and the sleeves. I'll crop the body a little bit to make sure it's just at my hip and not longer, and then I'll also make sure to make the sleeves the right length because I heard that the pattern gives them too long if you just follow it blindly, so I'll just make sure to try it on. But yeah, have you ever tried leatherback jacquard? Do you have any patterns that you feel are like perfect for leatherback? Because with leatherback, you kind of have to plan in advance where you're going to be putting your leathers, and that was really tricky, and people in the group chat were really helpful, and we like brainstormed. But I'd be curious to know if you have any other color works that were made specifically for leatherback. For example, Fair Isle usually isn't, because there's never repeats that are like that much longer than 5 stitches. But stuff that sometimes you think like, oh, in Tarja would work well, then maybe leatherback also would work well for that, for like isolated motifs or like things that are like self-standing in a sea of a different color. But yeah, really happy with that. And again, I probably wouldn't have had the motivation to do this or try this technique or like anytime something gets a little hard, my first instinct sometimes is to just like, oh, I'll just not do it or I'll give up. But having the YouTube channel, having you guys encourage me and, you know, like gift me a pattern or tell me that you've done the pattern, all of that is always so encouraging and so motivating. And then I do things that I didn't think I was capable of doing or things that I just wouldn't have done otherwise. And then I'm so happy that I'm almost done with this hard part, and then I'll have a holly jumper, which I've been wanting for over a year, and it was in my 2023 knitting plans, and I'm following through on those plans. Okay, so I think that's it for the holly sweater. We'll now talk about my last whip slash plan, and it's the Sela sweater, and that was a very impulsive cast on. I was kind of making a list of winter plans and trying to thin that list down because I have like 25 patterns on there right now, and I really cannot do 25 sweaters. So I was trying to get it down to maybe like 12 or 10 or something like that. And I realized that I have a few sweater quantities of like bulky yarn, and that would be really nice, especially if they were stockinette. And so the Sela was fitting the bill perfectly because it's yarn that is very wintry. This is Sandnes Borske Alpaca, which I bought on sale, and then just wasn't really a color I wanted to work with in autumn, but then now it's perfect. Like I'm feeling the wintry vibes for sure. And there was a cowl for it in September, but then I just didn't do it because I wanted to just knit on my own things. And so now I've done it. I've done the neckband, and then I folded it onto itself, and I'm doing the raglan increases. I just finished the short rows at the back last night, and so now I'm doing my very first normal increase. And I've scoured through Ravelry, seeing if there's any notes from people. People have just said that they've maybe not done the decreases that you do before the ribbing, so I probably will omit that and just make a straight body. Very annoyingly, for the first time in forever, when I made the neckband, the ribbing, after 5 or 6 rows, I noticed that I had twisted it when joining in the round and made a Mobius twist. That never happened. I hadn't done that in so long. It was very humbling, so I had to undo. I was so pissed, but it's in the past. So yeah, the yarn is really, really plush and soft and squishy, and people have said that it really transforms after blocking. I've made a swatch and I blocked, but it was a long time ago. And the pattern even tells you instructions, because it recommends this yarn, on how to like fluff it up with your hand when you're blocking it to really, really emphasize the fluff. And I thought it was really nice because, you know, usually when patterns recommend yarn, they don't really say why they recommend it, or like maybe they just picked it because that's what they had in stash, or they had a partnership with a brand or whatever. But it's really nice when a pattern recommends a yarn and then tells you something specific to that yarn, because then it, like, I don't know, it kind of justifies it, or it makes it feel like, well, that's why I bought the same yarn as the pattern said, because it required it. I don't know. I know people have made this with Cos from Scentless Yarn as well. But yeah, this yarn is so lovely and really soft, and I just love the color. This is so my color. The other thing I want to talk about is I got my grey from Knitting for Olive for the Sonja sweater by Petite Knit, which was also going to be one of my like bulky weight, fast stockinette sweaters for this winter, and using hand-dyed, which I'm really eager to use my hand-dyed. But I was going to cast on, and then I stopped myself because I read someone say in their notes that they had quite a lot of difference knitting flat and knitting in the round with their hand-dyed suri. And then they said that they read a tip in the Mélange sweater where Petite Knit apparently tells you within the pattern that to marl the two colors better, you don't knit with them while they run parallel. She says to twist them as you knit them slightly. And that really confused me because obviously with knitting they always tell you not to twist your yarn, like especially with color work, and here it's telling you to twist your yarn on purpose. So I'm wondering if anybody has any advice or suggestions on how to marl or how to twist your yarn when you're knitting with it. Do you just every now and then take your two balls and twist them and then knit and then do that again, or do you, like, at what rate, or how tightly, how loosely, how am I overthinking this? Should I just not bother? Have you just ever knitted with hand-dyed suri and not had a problem between a flat yoke and then a body in the round? It really threw me off, and I don't want there to be a massive difference in the first half and the second half of my sweater, which is why I'm kind of hesitant. But has anybody done the Mélange sweater and read those instructions and can vouch for twisting the yarn, giving an even look? Or has anybody not twisted the yarn and then in their Mélange sweater had a big difference between flat and in the round? I'm really opening the floor up here for feedback, so thank you. And then the last thing is an acquisition, and it was a Black Friday acquisition. Hedgehog Fibers were having 25% off, which with shipping, etc., was still a really good deal. And then there's a yarn I've been wanting forever, which is the Hedgehog Tweedy for a Sawyer pullover by Sari Nordland. And it got delivered, and here is the beauty. So it's an amazing, really soft yarn that I was afraid would be too beige, but is actually the perfect shade of greyish. So it's, I would say it's quite grey as opposed to beige, which I prefer grey to beige as a neutral. Then it has those amazing flecks of confetti, recycled, hand-dyed scraps from Hedgehog Fibers, which is what makes up this special yarn. So you've got 50% full clan merino, 37.5 recycled wool, and 12.5 Hedgehog Fibers thread waste. I got 5 skeins of this to make the sweater, which was one of my priciest purchases of the year. But the sweater seems like a beast, and it's bottom up, the sleeves are separately knitted and then seamed. And I just thought, like, go all in, you know, like, make it your work of art, and I'll be probably casting that on in the new year as a nice challenging thing when I have the headspace. And I just couldn't imagine that sweater in a different yarn than this. It just goes with it. It was suggested by the yarn, by Sari Nordland. And I've heard mixed feelings about this. I have heard people say that the tweedy bits can fall off too quickly, but I've also heard that this is really soft. It blooms really nicely after a block, and yeah. So we'll see obviously how this knits up and then how this wears, but it probably will get wear because it is soft. And at this point in my knitting journey, that's pretty much what I care about the most now, is how soft is this yarn? Can I wear this next to skin, and is it itchy? And if not, I probably don't want it. So that's where I'm at. So yeah, very exciting acquisition. Okay, so I really wanted this episode to be a bit shorter so that I'd have more time to talk about my big announcement at the end, and I was hoping my mindset would be okay by that time, but I spoke for too long. Oh well, I hope that you're still with me. I hope that you're looking forward to hearing more details about the stream that I just announced at the beginning of the video. And just so you know, I will be talking about this much more again on my Instagram in the future weeks and in my next podcast episode. Like, I will be reminding you of that because it is a big event. I do want as many people as possible to attend. If you're not interested, you know, hopefully I will always put those things towards the end so you can just quit the video or skip ahead. So if this is not for you, no problem at all, but just so you know what to expect, I will be talking about this a lot. So yeah, I really wanted to mark the occasion for my knitting anniversary. I have been toying with different formats, different things, activities. I've done knit nights, I've done live stream, premiering videos, made a Ravelry group, I've made a Discord now, and something that I really wanted to do was more streaming, and something that I know people do is basically marathon streaming for charity. Usually it's video gaming. It's a very well-known way of fundraising, and some people do marathons or running or sporting events, but I'm not very sporty, so I thought, what do I do best is knitting. So I'll be knitting for 12 hours, but it won't just be that. I'll be doing lots of different activities. I will talk about that later, but I also wanted this to be very social, so I've invited a lot of guests, which I will be teasing and revealing, and you will see on their channels. They will be announcing that they're coming on the charity live stream. I've partnered with some brands, which again I will slowly reveal that. Some brands have offered a discount, some brands have offered a prize that some people will get by just joining on the stream, or also by donating. You'll be automatically entered in the draw for a prize. So yeah, let me just tell you a bit more about the charity I chose. It's the Samaritans. They're a UK charity that I volunteered for when I was at university. They're a mental health charity that provides emotional support for people in crisis all over the UK. It's anonymous, confidential, and available 24/7. And usually it is by phone. So the volunteers go for 3-hour long shifts, day and night, and the phones are always manned, and it's never been interrupted. The service is always available, and you can also reach them by email or text and live chat now. You can also go in person in branches, and all of that is manned by volunteers, and it takes a lot of money to train the volunteers because the training is very rigorous. You don't just send people in the unknown, you know, without the tools to do this kind of job. So the training is taken very seriously, and so any money that you guys will be able to donate, that we can raise the funds for during the stream, all of that will go to the charity and will help train more people to keep this amazing service up and running. The UK really needs it. We have free healthcare, but GPs, mental health services are very overwhelmed, and having this phone line that's always open for people to always have a chat with, have a phone call if they need it right there and then, the phone is open, they can answer, and it's just so important to me that they can keep doing the amazing work that they do. So I hope that sets the tone and kind of gives you an idea of why I'm doing this, and hopefully makes you want to donate. So the ways that you can participate in this event that will happen on my anniversary on the 2nd of January is you can show up on the day and keep me company. It'll be the day after New Year, hopefully you're off work. You just get up in your pajamas, turn the stream on, and knit with me for as long as you can or want to be there. Talk to me in the chat, participate, ask questions, participate in the activities that I will be sort of teasing and leading on the run-up to and during the stream. When there's guests, you know, ask them questions, thank them for coming, obviously hype them up for being there. And if you can't be there yourself, that's completely fine. I'd love it if you could spread the word, because if you can't, maybe somebody else can. And also, obviously, if you could donate to the charity, that would be amazing. There's no link yet, but I will open the link for donations 24 hours before the stream. So if you can't make it on the day, just donate. And again, if you can't yourself, share the link, and maybe other people that you know will be able to donate. The other ways you can help is by just talking to me about it. I'm so excited about this. It's my baby. I've been planning this for weeks, and there's still a lot of planning to do, and I've been wanting to talk about this for so long, and now is the time. And I'm so excited about it. I would love it if you guys were as excited about it as I was, and it confirmed that this was a good idea. So if you have any feedback or suggestions, obviously some things are already in motion, so I can't just change everything, but if you have any feedback or ideas or just words of encouragement, I welcome that. The goal will be to fundraise £3,000, but I've made little milestones of fun things that will happen if we reach threshold. So for example, at £500, I'm going to teach Ross how to knit on camera during the stream. He will be there available if that happens. And then if we reach, 1,000, then something else will happen. If we reach 3,000, something will happen. If we reach 6,000, something will happen. And then I have a couple of ideas of crazy goals and milestones that we can do if we were to reach, like 6 or 10,000, which I don't foresee it happening, but I'm not going to be defeatist. I just really have no idea what goal to set. But I thought 3,000 was a good middle ground of, I hope we can reach that. It would be amazing if we did. And if we can reach more, that's even better, and there will be incentives for that. So one of the incentives, for example, will be that I will be knitting a behemoth of a project. I asked before on my channel what you thought was like the most complicated project you'd ever seen, and I've made a huge Ravelry bundle of a lot of those projects, and over the next few weeks on Instagram and here in the description there's a link. I'm going to make you guys vote on what project is the most impressive or challenging looking, or the one that you want to see me knit next year, and then through those votes over the next 4 weeks we will select one pattern in each category. So there will be a blanket, a colorwork jumper, and then a texture jumper. And you guys will find the best item in each category. And then during the stream, those 3 options will be presented and people will be able to vote for which one they want me to do. So I hope that I explained that well, but it's just one of the many things that are going to happen in the lead up to and during the stream. There will be much more information in the description and on Instagram, so if you don't follow me there, I'd really like it if you did, just to stay informed and to participate in the votes of what's going to happen. But yeah, there will be a Google form in the description if you want to start casting your votes for the first round of eliminations of the, what do I call it? The Holy Grail? No, I didn't call it that. I called it the Magnum Opus project. Yeah, you can vote for that. So other things that you can expect on the day, I will be reviewing some knits that I've made during 2023, making some plans for 2024, swatching for projects, maybe some crochet, knitting. I will be super happy to demonstrate some things on Ravelry. I can share my screen and we can browse Ravelry together. I could also explore my stash on Ravelry, or obviously in person, depending on how busy the setup is, but I could show you some stash yarn and say what I've got in plan for it. We will have a trivia game with one of our guests, which we're planning right now. Then there will be some giveaways for free patterns and some polls I can ask you guys where you can answer in real time, and then we can react to those answers, maybe some controversial knitting opinions, etc. So I think it's going to be a huge party for 12 hours. The more the merrier, the more active the better, and I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. And the last thing that I really wanted to do, and I want to set the scene now to give you enough time, I want to do something that I'm calling Woolly Worldwide. And what I want to do on the stream, during the stream, is at some point share a big gallery of your photos, and I would like you to take a picture of your favorite knit in your favorite place, because I know that you guys are all over the world. I'd love to see where you're from and also what you consider to be your best knit. So if you want to send that to me by email or on Ravelry, or if you want to post your own photo on Instagram and you are allowing me to use it, you just use the hashtag woollyworldwide, maybe tag me in the photo as well. And then I will be collating all of those photos and make a big gallery. So make sure to say what the knit was, what the pattern was if you want, or self-drafted, and tell me where you are. So maybe you love the sea where you live, or you love the mountains, or you have this really nice view in your flat. Just go outside and either model your knit or just display it on a clothes hanger, or just carry it next to you. Just display your knit in a really nice place and send that to me, and I will collate all of that. It really, really would mean the world to me if you participated in that, because I think it would be fantastic to be able to almost tick off the countries on a map as well of people who have sent a photo from their country. So I probably will do that as well if we have enough. It's like an interactive map where all the countries that have participated will light up, and then I will display all your photos, and also as a little incentive I will pick my favorite photo of all of these and I will send them a sweater quantity from my stash. I think I know which one, but I still need to confirm, and I will send that to you anywhere in the world. So Woolly Worldwide as an extra activity. I'll also be talking about it on my Instagram more, but I wanted to give you enough time to plan and think about that in advance. So think about what photo you want to send me, if any, and just you make sure that you're happy with me showing that on the live stream, and don't forget to tell me where it was taken and what knit it is. And I really hope that you like this idea. I cannot wait to see what you tag me in and what photos you're taking. Let me know if you have any questions at all about that, or the like Magnum Opus voting, or the stream itself, or anything at all. Like, super happy to talk about that. Like I said, I've been a busy bee behind the scenes, and I can't wait to finally reveal that into the world and then set it in motion and save the dates. Come on the day, donate to the charity when the link opens. I'll make sure to share it everywhere closer to the dates. But yeah, I'll catch up with you again on maybe revealing more people that are coming or brands that are participating in a couple of weeks in the podcast episode. And then in the next week, I'll also share in the description below the next round of voting for the Magnum Opus, because there will be a few rounds. But yeah, you can vote both on the poll in the description below. You can also vote on my Instagram stories. I'll tally up the votes anyway. So if you really feel strongly about something, just vote twice. That's allowed. But yeah, that was exciting. I'm so happy I said it. And don't forget to join me on the Discord then, and we can all talk about that there. I post a link below for the Discord, and feel free to share that again with anyone that crafts. Hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope it wasn't too information heavy towards the end, but you still enjoyed the knitting chat at the beginning of the episode. I'm super happy to have casted on a couple of winter projects, and also having finished this autumn project. I can't wait to cast on my next fingering weight sweater. But yeah, I've been enjoying knitting a lot lately. It was nice to do a couple of test knits, but all the garments I'm doing are of my own volition, and a lot of things are kind of getting finished. So I'm at a time now where I'm able to cast on a few more things, which is always an exciting time, isn't it? It's my favorite part, is casting on. So yeah, hope you're doing well wherever you are. Hope you're having a relaxing and cozy time and you're not too cold. I will see you next week for an episode. I don't know what it will be yet, but I do want to keep posting once a week. I've been doing that for like 2 months now, which doesn't feel hard, but it would be nice if I could keep that streak until the end of the year, until the birthday, the anniversary. But yeah, hope you're doing well. See you later. Happy knitting, and hope to see you at the live stream in January. Bye everyone. Happy December.